Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening, everybody, and it's a pleasure to be here. And a beautiful day outside, but we had to come into this room. I was born in the year that man landed in the moon. Although I still feel I'm 24, but during those era, it was all about going to the moon, space, and man going outside of this planet. Before I go to primary, it was all about Apollo, and I do remember in Bahrain Museum, there was a rock which was presented to Bahrain as a rock from the moon. I used to go there, spend a long time looking at this rock which came from another planet outside of ours. In Bahrain, the weather used to be good during spring. We used to sleep outside. And being a naughty kid, my mom wanted to shut me up. And at those times, there was no iPads or iPhones. So she used to tell me, if you look at the sky, you will see the rocket going to the moon. And that was the end of the conversation. I used to stare, trying to find that rocket and fall asleep, but I never found that rocket yet. As year goes by, I went to school, and there was a survey during my days which say that most of the boys in the school, more than 50%, they all wanted to become pilots. The other 50 was between engineers and other professions. But at those times, everybody, wanted to fly as a dream, and I was among them. I'm sure if they repeat this survey today, it will be slightly different. People would like to be like Ronaldo and Messi, but those were different days that we lived in. Fast forward, I got the chance to go and start flying. And during that journey, I learned a lot of things as a pilot. As a pilot, it's a very unique job where you practice on disasters most of the time. I hope when you fly with us, you don't see this. But for the past more than 30 years, every 6 months, I've been to simulator, and I've been practicing and being examined until today of how to manage a disaster. What happens if an engine fails? You are on the runway and your speed is around 300 kilometers, and all of a sudden you have failure. Do you stop? Will the runway be enough for you, or will you continue? Split of second, the captain and the pilot need to do that decision. You take off, you have hydraulic leak, you have an engine fire. What do you do? That's what we learn. This is what we actually practice. We hope we don't practice it in the real life, but we are always ready to put that and be ready for that. Those skills, decision making, finding out options, and using the resources that you have to manage a situation has helped me in my next stage of my life. As a pilot, we always study disasters. There was a famous case where one aircraft, they lost all the hydraulic, like nothing happened before. They couldn't turn the aircraft, and one pilot actually managed to land the aircraft eventually and turn it just by differential power. You've all seen maybe the movie about the aircraft that lost two engines because of a belt strike and ended up landing in the Hudson River. Something that nobody has examined before. And there was a 76 which lost fuel, and my voice. Can you hear me? Shall I repeat everything I say? I don't even remember what it is. So there was a 76 which lost two engines because of a fuel error, and they had to glide and land in foreign airports. Those texts have never been written in our books. It means that every pilot needs to be creative, need to think outside of the box, and need to use the resources that they have. Plus, I had other hobbies. One of them, I worked since I was a kid in a garage as a mechanic, so I like cars. And of course, being from Bahrain, I like the sea, and I like everything to do with the sea, whether it's fishing or diving or anything else. In 2004, I was in a short holiday and it was a very busy year for me. We've just started a new airline, a lot of things were happening. I took this short holiday, and I thought it would be just 10 days, I'll go back to my home. The only thing, it was a bit different this time. I was in a bus, sitting in front of a bus, and the bus was speeding at the maximum it could do on a ring road in a highway, and all of a sudden, the bus hits a concrete slab, exactly where I was sitting. Bang! From full speed to absolute stop. The front mirror broke, half of the bus came, crashed in. It crashed in exactly where I was sitting. Both my legs stuck between the crashed bus and the concrete slab. The fuel line bursted. I was smelling diesel for the next week. And, everything went into silence. Then I realized that all the training and all the skills and all the experiences I have learned them for a good reason. In a pilot, you learn, when you get an emergency, the first thing you do is not to panic. You take a deep breath, you oxygenize your brain, and you think, how can you manage this situation? And that's what I did. I took a deep breath, because when you panic, your heart rate goes high, and I was bleeding heavily, and with the high rates, I have to go to medical house here, medical school, so you lose the blood much quicker. But if you slow breathe, which we'll learn it later on from Ahmed, you can actually lower your heart rate and increase your chance for survival. So you get the facts. We follow a formula in aviation. We call it formula. First one, fact. What's the fact? The fact, it's midday, I'm in a bus, on a highway, crashed, I'm stuck, I cannot do anything. Okay. Second thing, what's my options? Of course, somebody has called the medical services. It's a very busy highway, so it will take them a while for them to arrive. What are the risks? The risk is that there could be a fire. And if there's a fire, everybody will run away and leave me behind. So what's my technique? First of all, I need to calm down. I need to slow my heart rate. I need to survive as much as I can in order until the emergencies arrive. So if there is a fire, my only way to survive is to cut myself loose. So I need a sharp object. The glasses next to me are my survival equipments. The second thing, can I release myself before the emergency service arrive? Let me think. I'm worked in a garage. There is a car, a Hiace, a Toyota Hiace. A Toyota Hiace has a hydraulic jack. Anybody knows about car here? It has a hydraulic jack. So I asked one of my friends, go to this car, go to this place, you find the jack, and a lever. Bring them, let's put it between the rock and the bus. Let's see if we can pump this up so I can be released. We tried it, it didn't work. Anyhow, soon the emergency service were there. They've arrived, they brought all the equipments, released me, put me on the ambulance, and I was then on a helicopter going to the hospital, which was my first helicopter. Being a pilot all these years, I've never been in a helicopter until that day. So I was so happy because it's fascinating to fly a helicopter. So after months of being in a hospital, so many operations, my skin was gone, so they had to do skin graft from some part of my body into other my part body. I was amputated the left leg. My right leg had multi-fracture, but they could save it. So, in the rehab center or in the hospital, you are laying, and that's all what you have. You cannot sit, you cannot stand, and your dream of being a pilot and flying now comes, if I can only stand. that becomes your priority now. And at the same time, with the support of everybody around me, my family, my friends, I had so many visitors. For 3 years I didn't have to buy any perfume because of the amount of perfume I got during the rehab center. So, everybody was so good with me and supported me emotionally and mentally. And, it really encouraged me to keep dreaming. Once I managed to stand, I said, can I walk? And in the rehab center, they teach you, before you walk, they teach you how to fall, because you don't have the balance. It's a different mechanism of walking. Walking is a very, very complicated thing. That's why, kids take time until they walk. Almost most of the animals, they can't walk. It's too complicated. And now that I've lost a whole leg, then it's a different muscle that control. The mind needs a lot of training. So you fall, you start walking, and then you become greedy. And I used to run marathon before my accident, so I told the rehab center, can I run? I said, of course you can run. So they went and designed for me a special prosthesis called Cheetah. I'm sure you've seen it in the Paralympics, that made me even faster from what I was before the amputation. And then I had a truck, a Toyota Hilux manual gear, and I said, can I drive that one? Because that needs a clutch. And he said, of course, definitely you can drive that. So I managed to drive my truck. And then I thought, can I actually fly? And at the time, we went and we searched. Of course, there were pilots with prosthesis legs in the war, but mainly they were either military or very light aircraft. And it was a long journey. Our authority contacted the ICAO medical house, and through a lot of tests, lots of simulator, lots of measurement to make sure, and I had to be absolutely confident that I can manage an aircraft, brake, engine failures at the maximum, at the biggest aircraft. And after passing all that test, within a year of my accident, I managed to get my license back to fly as a first pilot on large commercial jets with passengers. And life goes on. I entered a world of what we could call disability and prosthesis and all those things that I had no clue. For 30 years, I've been to school, to university. Nobody taught us anything about these things. And all of a sudden, I had to face a new world and get a different experience, learn a lot of things about the limitations. But two slogans that were really shaped me and enlightened my way. One was for the rehab center. The rehab center slogan was, we help people to help themselves. And it was not something that was only written and not practiced. When I was in a wheelchair and I was going uphill, and I used to reach like halfway and can't continue, and everybody used to pass, and everybody used to just encourage me with work. Nobody would actually push your wheelchair, because they know that I need to get out of that rehab center. There is no point in somebody pushing me. They give me techniques, they try to encourage me, try to make me actually climb that uphill. Their slogan is life with no limitation. And I had that went into my mind, life with no limitation. I can run now, I can play. I used to play squash, now I play paddle, the new version of squash and tennis. And I drive my truck, I fly. I told them I died, so they designed a special prosthesis for me
which I can join Omar and dive with him. So life could become back to normality. In fact, what I discovered during my journey, that I was more disabled before my accident than post my accident. I had a lot of limitation within my mind, like all of us. We think we cannot do this. We cannot jump from here to here. We cannot do this. You are afraid. You know, it's a limitation that we put for ourselves. And that's nothing. You know, once post-accident, I decided to get rid of those fears, cross my mind limitation, and take life as much as I can. And life has been good to me. It allowed me to experience different things. It has allowed me to be among you today, which is a great pleasure. And the message I would like to give to everybody today. I am a pilot, but I'm a pilot of my life. You are all here are pilots and captains of your life. There is no limitation. There is no hesitation. You don't have to look back. Something happens. Be thankful to the God. Smile. Take a deep breath and continue your way. You might not be able to control the results, but you can control your attitude. Thank you.